Buongiorno a tutti. Grazie. Sono inglese, allora mi scusare perché vorrei parlare in inglese. The first slide just tells you who I am and what I'm going to talk about. That's the structure, just 4 items I want to cover. The introduction is short, you'll be pleased to know. That's where I work. This is Rutherford Appleton Laboratory in UK. Very large scientific facilities. And until recently, I was director of IT there. I am now director of international relations. In IT terms, we handle 360,000 users, 1,100 servers, and about 10 petabytes of data per year. For those of you who are not in the IT industry, 1 petabyte of data is a stack of CDs 1 kilometer high. So quite a lot. This is a lab with a lot of innovation, a lot of cooperation with industry, as well as supporting all the UK universities and many international relationships. That's a brief bio. I put it there so you can read it afterwards, assuming the slides go on a website somewhere. Basically, I'm old. I've done lots of stuff. These are the various associations with which I work. The ones on the left, I am or have been president. The ones in the middle are well-known associations, and the ones on the right are academic things to do with conferences. So I've been part academic, but also very practical. When I was director IT, we had to support a lot of very big systems for science and for industry. Okay, Horizon 2020. Luciano gave you a wonderful introduction to it, some of which I will just cover again from a slightly different viewpoint. So, Horizon 2020 is bringing together all these components, which were previously separate programs. This hopefully will reduce confusion. Also, the European Commission plan to provide us with simplified procedures. However, they have said that many times before, and I'm not sure it will happen. So please don't count on this. Be prepared, if you're going to participate in these programs, to be able to handle a lot of very boring administration, but it is necessary to do it. Towards the end of the talk, I'll give you some hints and some tips of how you can do this with minimum effort and maximum success. These are the objectives. The important things are in blue, the numbers, and Luciano already gave you these. But it's interesting that only the first 3 things have numbers attached. Science, innovation, linked with industry, and major concerns, the so-called grand challenges. The rest of the bullet points, the last 2, are expected to be accomplished as a side effect of those first 3. So taking the major themes, excellent science, already Luciano's been through these, industrial leadership, which is the area most relevant to innovation. Excellent science is expected to have a lead time of at least 10 years towards anything that is reasonably exploitable by industry. Industrial leadership programs are expected to produce something more or less immediately exploitable for wealth creation or improvement in the quality of life. Societal challenges are a cross-cutting theme. So ideally, if you're an academic, you go for excellent science against one of the societal challenges. And if you're in industry, you go for one of the industrial leadership programs against one of the societal challenges. That's one way to maximize success. The important thing from my point of view is ICT is everywhere. Wherever you go in this program, there's IT. Okay, so let's look at the ICT within Horizon 2020. The first thing is a change of name. You know that there's an old Roman general who once said that when a general doesn't know what to do, they reorganize and change a name. So here is an example where the EC have changed the name. DG INFSO, the old Information Society Directorate General, has changed its name to DG Connect. But this, for the IT area, is the major source of ICT funding. But, let me underline it 5 times, there are many others in different parts of the program where ICT is necessary. So this is the restructuring of the directorate into A through H units. And of them, C maps to theme 1, that's the science. F maps to theme 2, that's coordination with industry. And H maps to most of the things in theme 3. So, first of all, Unit A, components and systems. This has, as you see, photonics, robotics, complex systems and components. This is very much the heavy work in the hidden parts of IT. This is the internal systems, but there's a lot of money on robotics, and there's a particular amount of money on robotics associated with production industry, robotics associated with exploration, e.g. for oil, and robotics associated with healthcare, particularly in hospitals. Complex systems and advanced computing is a pretty general area within this Components and Systems Directorate, and one where you might find, looking at the work programme, things of interest. The next directorate, B, Electronic Communication Networks and Services, is dominantly to do with regulation. So this is an area where people working in the legalistics of telecommunication are likely to be interested. So it's an area where national telecom industries, mobile phone suppliers and so on wish to be involved. C, excellence in science, has already been mentioned, has these areas: infrastructure, future emerging technologies, digital sciences and flagships. The flagships are something that emerged from future emerging technologies in Framework 7. The idea of this is to make sure we have a strong scientific base in ICT. The E-infrastructure area is particularly interesting. This includes things like grid computing and cloud computing. FET is very much advanced things, and perhaps one of the most successful FET programs at the moment is on the substance graphene, which is expected to replace our conventional silicon transistor chips at some time in the future. Cooperation. This is strengthening cooperation in all these fields, international, interinstitutional communication and stakeholders, and the idea is to have a cooperative interface in each area. Projects in this area will need to demonstrate strong cooperation management. Net futures, this is the actual network protocols, technologies and so on, and the availability of these networks and new ways of using networks more efficiently. It also includes in the second bullet software and services architectures, and especially cloud computing. And indeed, a particular person in the Commission who used to work very closely with the Commissioner for this area has actually been parachuted into that area to make sure this happens. So it's seen as a priority. F is coordination, growth and jobs, innovation, program coordination and knowledge base. This is providing the overall coordination. So this would be dominantly strategic programs in the area of looking forward, roadmaps, predicting what will be needed, this kind of project. Media and data is very interesting, particularly with mobile information, and you'll note the last of the major bullets is inclusion, skills and youth. This relates to entertainment, or what is now being called edutainment, educational entertainment. The data value chain, how you get value from data that is generated expensively, for example, in healthcare, in hospitals, or in satellites observing the Earth, these kind of things. Creativity, the idea is to stimulate the creativity, particularly of the younger people, and converged media and content means using the new media and multiple media in new and creative ways to make the content more available and useful. Sustainable and secure society handles things that are of concern to us all: health, digital social platforms, that actually means social networking. Public services, trust and security, a hugely important area, and one of the things that's really holding back the development of ICT internationally. And smart cities and sustainability. So these are all important areas. As I said, these address the major challenges identified by the EC as the ones that they wish to happen in H2020. So finally, let me very briefly give you some hints and tips on what I suggest you should do. Here are the key aspects if you abstract away from the work programme. So in excellence, you've got the choices of the European Research Council, Future Emerging Technologies, Marie Curie Awards. These are for movement of postdoc students, and the E-infrastructure, normally linked with research infrastructures such as the ones you saw on the first picture of the laboratory where I work. Perhaps of more interest is the innovation with industry, where the key aspects they've identified are new products, standardization, which is critically important to give a large home market in Europe. One of our big problems competing in Europe with China or with the US is each has a home market that is relatively homogeneous and very large. In Europe, we have massive heterogeneity. That is wonderful because of the richness of our culture and our languages, but it's a real problem in getting standards. Having said that, Europe invented the GSM standard for mobile phones, so we have had some successes. We've also, by the way, invented a lot of the standards on the World Wide Web here in Europe. Then the third thing is partnering with advanced industry sector, and there's a list there of the industries that the European Commission is particularly impressed with and that want academics to partner with, and an area where they expect to find good innovation. And finally, there's special support for SMEs. The social context is also important. So if it's possible to, for example, come up with products that address healthcare, or products that address energy, or products that address transport, especially if they are linked with standards accepted at the European level, this will be seen very favorably by the EC. Some of the hot topics that cross all those areas: cloud computing, and you'll see already it comes up, interoperational standards, mobile computing, media and creativity, embedded control systems, and novel methods of software engineering. Our software engineering is still too much like a cottage industry. It's like knitting in small cottages in small villages in the hills. We need to go to a more efficient production in software engineering. So here are the steps that I propose for any of you who are considering getting involved in H2020. First of all, decide what you want out. Always start with the outputs. Then evaluate the existing and potentially future skill offerings you have in your own organization. Use these two things to find the areas of the work program which are of relevance to you. Now comes the tricky bit, finding partners. We all know what this is like at a party, right? So you have to find a way to find partners. Always best to use friend of a friend. Find someone you know and trust and ask them to recommend someone to join. This is one of the things we do within the URSIM Consortium, by the way. The way you find your partner is to have a one-page outline proposal, which you hold as commercial in confidence, and whatever you do, do not advertise your idea at European Commission open meetings, but go along to the meeting to listen to what all the other silly people are telling you they're doing, so you know what the competition is. Next, you build the consortium. Now, it's very important you define the roles and responsibilities for each partner. They must be complementary. You don't want two partners doing the same thing. You also have to define the roles and responsibilities through the stages of the project, and critically importantly, after the project, when the results are exploited. You need to generate the work packages, tasks and deliverables by timescale, by resource and by partner. You need a multi-dimensional spreadsheet for this. Once you have one built, it's very easy. So it's a very good idea to do it. And before you get the proposal written, start on something called the Consortium Agreement. That's an agreement that's a necessary condition to get the funding from the EC, and you have to agree on intellectual property, on what is foreground, background and sideground intellectual property. Foreground intellectual property is generally what is coming in the project. Background is what partners bring to the project, and sideground is what is developed by a particular partner in the project, which may or may not be used in the project. Then you build the proposal. Now here the trick is to have boilerplate text. That means standard units of text stored on a file server somewhere you can pull and bring together. So even before you get anywhere near submitting the proposal, make sure each partner has text describing their business, their successes, their involvement in past projects in the European Commission, if any, and the key persons with a one-paragraph CV. Make sure you mention any past projects or work that is of relevance to the new project you're proposing. List any relevant publications, including if you can release them under a commercial in confidence banner, internal technical reports. They are just as important as academic peer-reviewed papers. And finally, define the management structure and processes. This can be standard for almost any proposal, so you can have that as pre-made text. What you must do is highlight the partner roles and contributions all the way through, and let me emphasize it again, also after the project. You have to say what the partners will do after the project, like create a new joint company, or hand this over to one of the partners for exploitation with license agreements for income to the other partners, and so on. If you want further information, there's a list of useful URLs. From the top down, they get more and more detailed, and I hope they help you be very successful in Horizon 2020 EC projects. Thank you very much.